Today's episode of Nerd Soup is sponsored by NordVPN. Start protecting your internet experience today with 77% off a 3-year plan by using code NERDSOUP at nordvpn.com/nerdsoup. Now, we at Nerd Soup have been lucky enough to have NordVPN sponsor some of our latest episodes. It's a product that I've enjoyed sharing with you guys because it's a product that I use. VPNs have become a crucial part of protecting your internet experience, and NordVPN is the cream of the crop. It doesn't get better. We've previously discussed how NordVPN is literally the most highly touted VPN in the world. It's the only VPN to get a perfect score from PC Mag. We've discussed their application of military-grade encryption that allows you to securely surf the web with the peace of mind that your private information will not be stolen. When accessing NordVPN's private networks, you can share your information remotely through public networks, and NordVPN also gives you the option to access content from around the world. NordVPN has thousands of super-fast servers in over 60 countries around the world, so the options are basically limitless. Depending on where you live, you'll be able to access different content from around the world by using NordVPN. So not only are you securing your internet experience, but you're expanding it, allowing yourself to experience new forms of entertainment that you usually wouldn't have access to. Also, NordVPN is not just made for your home computer. You can download their Android or iOS apps and secure your mobile browsing experience. And when you sign up for NordVPN, you can have 6 simultaneous connections. Secure your data on your computer, your laptop, your phone, your tablet, and you'll still have 2 more devices left. So consider protecting your internet experience today with 77% off a 3-year plan by using code NERDSOUP at www.nordvpn.com/nerdsoup. Game of Thrones Season 3, Episode 5, Kissed by Fire.
They just keep coming.
I was just chuckling to myself watching how good this was. Got it a couple times. I was like, you fucking son of a bitch, Game of Thrones.
D&D, you son of a bitch.
There's no way they're messing this up. This is perfect. Yeah, we'll jump right into the episode. Kissed by Fire. It's a title that refers to Ygritte, because in the world of Westeros, that if you have red hair, especially among the wildlings, they say that you're kissed by fire. And I guess we kind of have that in our culture too, then.
A lot nicer than like ginger.
Yeah. Oh, look at that ginger. Kissed by Fire sounds dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fresh.
They should rebrand.
That should be a thing.
It's always like the butt of the joke, and it's not fair. Rebrand to Kissed by Fire. People ain't messing with you.
And I guess you can make the case too that the Hound is kissed by fire. Not naturally, artificially, by his brother, but this scene continues the scene between the Brotherhood and the Hound in the last episode, where Beric sentences him to a trial by combat. So it's going to be Beric versus the Hound. I'm sure they sold a bunch of pay-per-views for this fight. The Hound, the fear of fire, when Beric lights his sword on fire, he is shook.
A hell of a bar trick or a tavern trick.
Yeah,
Imagine pulling that out. I love the whole setup of this scene, too. You can hear Melisandre's theme in the back.
It's kind of like the Lord of Light theme.
Look at Beric. He can dance a little.
He could dance, and also Thoros, the prayer that he says before the fight. It is a very religious ceremony.
See him cut his hand and then set the sword ablaze.
And I love that, too, that the fire that it doesn't really add anything. It's just
trick.
on. Yeah, you could set somebody on fire, I guess, but apparently if you keep doing that, the sword eventually just breaks.
Well, it does help. I mean, he does set his shield ablaze during the scruffle, which distracts him a little, and the Hound is scared of fire, so you definitely use the elements to his advantage.
Yeah, there's fire
it's
everywhere.
Home field advantage right there. He knows the playing ground.
And it is very chaotic, and the moment, too, where Arya is screaming, "Kill him!" The way that she's kind of wailing that she really wants to see the Hound be killed by Beric, that doesn't work. Doesn't work out.
That's brutal, man.
And the way that Beric dies, too, he gets his whole shoulder cut off, and it's the first time we see a resurrection in Game of Thrones, too. And this scene, I guess, it's just so important to later scenes in the show, but
it's always why you gotta have a medic on your team. You gotta hit him with that revive.
He did. He was like Mercy in Overwatch. It's like, heroes never die. And he comes back to life. And I think I wanted to make this point that in the show, this scene, I think, is more meaningful. Because why is the Lord of Light bringing Beric back so many times? And in the book, I guess it's so that he can resurrect Catelyn. Because that's what he does with his life. But I think in the show, it might be more meaningful depending on what he does in Season 8. If it has to do something with maybe bringing back Jon, if Jon falls on the battlefield. So It's cool. It's one of the great magical moments of the show where this is something that you wouldn't expect because the show has been so realistic this season.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like out of place. Like when that happened, I don't remember being like, oh my God, they're jumping the shark. Or because they've touched in some crazy shit before that with Melisandre, the Shadow Babies and the Dragons. It just feels so natural at this point, that so grounded with everything else, that these fantastical events are basically just accepted.
Yeah, and I guess it helps too because it happens off screen. The moment where Arya tries to kill the Hound herself and she screams burn in hell, and Beric you hear him off screen, he will, not today.
Just got the music playing over. When I come back like Jordan wearing a 4 or 5. Hate to play games with you.
And they're all shocked. I guess his men aren't shocked because they know that he's been coming back, and they touch on this more later in the episode. But talking about Kiss by Fire, going north with Jon and the Wildlings, and the Wildlings are trying to get some information out of Jon, and at first they don't trust him. Oral asks him about all the castles that are manned, and they talk about how there are 19 castles on the wall, but only 3 of them are manned. And Jon could have lied about this, but he's picking and choosing what to lie about. 1,000 men at Castle Black. Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, and Oral doubts him, and I love what Tormund says. He's like, I like you, boy, but if you lie to me, I'll rip your guts through your throat.
Yeah.
It's like,
okay.
You could just kill me.
Pretty straightforward, yeah. I'm going to keep you alive, but rip your guts through your throat. And Jon's threat to Oral, too. What happens to your bird if I kill you? Does he just fly away like a kite in the wind? Or does he fall to the ground? Jon had the threats, man.
In the play. It's like, I'm tired of taking shit. And you got to, to, I guess, have a convincing wildling persona, you have to be a little on edge. You got to talk back, got to stand your ground, yeah.
Survival of the fittest with the Wildlings, and Ygritte steps in to protect him, and Jon has the moment where he says, I don't need you protecting me, and Ygritte's like, hey, you kind of do. I've saved your ass a couple times this season.
Let's go have sex.
Let's go do something in the cave. And that playful relationship that everybody loves between them, that she steals the sword, lures him in the cave, and I like to imagine that they showered before this scene, because they are probably disgusting.
No, she asked him when's the last time you had a bath, right?
Yeah, probably not recent. Jon, they're all kissing each other in places where it's like, you better go to the doctor after this cave meeting.
How about Jon dropping his 7 hells?
Ygritte! 7 hells! Ygritte!
Spit on Ned's grave while you're at it.
That is true, man. Language, please. Everything about this scene it's a great intimate scene between these two characters. And Jon, I guess, in a way, he's not forsaking his vows because Sam, his lawyer, in the later seasons, or earlier in season 1 or 2, where he talks about, well, they never said that you can't sleep with a woman. They say you can't marry and have kids.
And they have a nice little conversation after. She makes fun of him a little because Jon says this was his first time, and Ygritte tells him about her sexual escapades.
Yeah.
And then they have like a nice moment where she says she never wants to leave this cave, and yeah, maybe they should have stayed, ran away together. It's unreasonable, but it's nice to think about. And this is obviously a moment you look back to when Ygritte does eventually die. When you rewatch this scene, it's kind of emotional just to see where they were and how they really did love each other. Jon makes the ultimate decision, and it's very bittersweet going back and watching these scenes. And there's a lot of these throughout this episode and throughout the show doing this whole rewatch.
Yeah, and in this next scene, it's a brief scene between the Brotherhood and the Hound, and they let him free. That was the agreement that they came to. If he wins the fight, and I guess Beric didn't really die, which is kind of a clause in the trial by combat contract, but yeah, Hound is allowed to go free.
And we keep your gold.
And yeah, they give him the little IOU. You see this little note that we wrote on this wet napkin? Find us after the war, because we're definitely going to be alive. And
yeah.
That would have been funny in season 6 if he said, hey, remember this?
This is signed Osmond Kettleback.
Yeah, well, we spent the gold. Sorry, Hound.
They have like a video game entertainment center.
I was watching this scene, too, thinking to myself, Roose Bolton is a lot different than his book counterpart. It's a lot more reasonable in the show.
Right away, he scolds Locke. He has Brienne untied. He says, you're under my protection now, my lady. He's trying to help Jaime stand him up. And he comes off pretty decent. Then he informs Jaime of the Blackwater in the most Bolton way ever.
I guess at this point, Jaime wouldn't know what happened.
No, it's great storytelling by him. Kept him on the edge of his seat.
Yeah, it's just building up to every moment.
Dropped him to his knees at the end.
Well, Locke is trying to impress Roose. Look what I did. I chopped off his hand, and we'll send it to his father, and Roose is having none of that.
Like a cat when he brings a dead bird back to your house.
Yeah, Roose is thinking here in advance, this could be good for my house if we try and make a deal with Lannister, so I'm going to treat him as well as I can in front of my men, so I don't get any mutinies. But yeah, it's a lot different, because in the book, he's just kind of a creep. He's a creepy, pale, he's always got leeches on his body, sucking his blood. He's a weirdo. In the show, he's a bit
freaking us out, lady.
He's a bit more compassionate, bit more forward-thinking, and I think just an overall better character.
Yeah.
And Jamie gets sent to Qyburn, and Jamie quickly realizes that Qyburn is not officially a maester, and this is where we get our first hints of why Qyburn was expelled from the Citadel, that they took his chain because his experiments, in his own words, were bold.
To say the least.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. But Qyburn gives him the news that in order for Jamie to survive, they might have to take the arm. He wants to at least keep his arm.
Yeah, I get that and all, but, like, refusing milk of the poppy? Like, that's me. I'm taking at least 3 doses of that shit. That looks painful. When he's picking at, like, the nub.
Yeah, it's probably really painful, but he wants to feel that pain. He wants to remember it, to savor it almost.
Just have a couple glasses of wine, man.
Yeah, have something, but give him something to bite on.
No, nothing.
Qyburn, that sicko.
Probably loving every second of it.
He gets off on the pain. But yeah, watching this next scene between Cersei and Littlefinger, you think back to season 1, the encounter that they had.
Power is power.
The power is power. One of the most iconic scenes of the show. And this encounter goes a lot differently. Littlefinger is very willing to help Cersei.
I mean, she's starting to get suspicious of the Tyrells, as we've seen in the previous episodes. And yeah, Littlefinger's like, all right, I got you. I'll see how I'll get this information and totally undermine both of you guys.
I mean, it's helping him, but it's also helping House Lannister.
Well, it's helping him by giving the information, but then Littlefinger just does his own thing with it. It's like, oh, he's playing the part where he's somewhat trustworthy to the Lannisters, but he's still going to do him. He's not going to help you unless it helps him in return.
Yeah. So it kind of just helps both parties here. It's funny because in the previous episode, Cersei tries to tell Tywin that the Tyrells are a problem, and Tywin kind of brushes her off, and she was kind of right. Tyrells are cooking up a plan on the down low to marry Sansa Stark to Loras, and this would hurt the Lannister position.
This is such a great scene, too. Lannister and Tyrell. Every time, doesn't matter which Lannister or what Tyrell, whenever they're in a scene together, it makes for a great scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene, but it's also Olenna kind of just owning Tyrion the entire time.
She's listing off the soldiers and the provisions, has Tyrell has lent the crown. It's Lady Olenna to a T. And right when she senses Tyrion's about to ask for money, she's like, oh, all right, you want to talk numbers?
I think Tyrion, like Varys in the previous episode, he was kind of caught off guard. Where I guess some people are familiar with Lady Olenna's reputation, but when you're dealing with an elderly woman, I guess you expect her to be kind of a pushover, but she's just as intelligent, she's just as quick as any of these players. And Tyrion really doesn't get any nice comebacks or one-liners in this sequence.
Oh, she calls him a browbeaten bookkeeper.
Yeah, and I think in a way it's almost like a compliment for him. It's similar to the Oberyn scene when Oberyn was told all these stories about Tyrion, that he was a monster, that he had a tail, and he just saw him and he was just a baby. And Olenna's probably heard all these stories about Tyrion, that he's this awful drunkard, Tywin says, a lecherous little bastard. And he's just kind of a normal guy trying to do his job. Olenna's even kind of bored by Tyrion in this scene.
She doesn't even eat the, what are those, figs?
Didn't she have one?
Oh.
No, well, Tyrion had them.
Yeah.
So, happy shitting, Tyrion. And it's hard for me to say which goodbye is sadder, but I think I'm going to go with this one. The first one was Arya and Hot Pie and Gendry a couple episodes ago. And now we have Arya and Gendry. This is such a sad scene.
Oh, it's much sadder.
And it's so well written.
It's great. I mean, Gendry tells Arya about all the people he served and how they just kept betraying him or selling him off, and he's done with that. And the Brotherhood's more of like, they picked Beric. It's something that's kind of like their own democratic little club they have there, and where they all feel like they're equals. It's
so well written too. When she says, "You could be my family," he says, "No, you just be my lady." And it's kind of what that situation would be like. Yeah, and Gendry, finally he's making a choice for himself, that he's choosing to be part of the Brotherhood. It's not somebody telling him what to do, where to go, how to do it. He's making a choice, and he's using his skill.
And it really works out for him.
This scene, too, is just absolutely brutal, where Willem Lannister is killed by Rickard Karstark. And it's a brutal scene, too. I always feel so bad for the kids because as soon as Karstark breaks in, is this a rescue?
Nah.
Kind of.
I have my notes, nah, LMAO.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Just the way Robb handles him and his men, it's just, he's disgusted by it. Very interesting too, like how the two bodies are laid in front of Robb. It's kind of reminiscent of the two Targaryen children laid in front of King Robert.
Yeah, much different reaction.
Oh yeah, and
apparently they were boys.
They were his kids. They were boys.
Oh yeah, Robb gives him the business.
He does give him the business.
That's terrifying. He's like,
well,
they were boys.
He was terrifying in this scene, and Catelyn in the background just looks so depressed, and Karstark makes the mistake of saying, tell your mother to look at these boys. She killed them just as much as I did. And it's just, obviously Karstark is in the wrong. And Robb sentences him to death eventually in the scene, but he tells them to take Karstark to the dungeons. And I love the guard who pleads for mercy. He says, "Oh, my lord, I didn't kill them. I was just watching." And he says, "Oh, he was just watching? Hang him last. He can watch the rest." That's a bar.
Shouldn't Robb be swinging the sword there?
He was hanging them.
Yeah, but at least Jon swung the sword and the rope.
I think Robb probably did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably did
I like
that.
to think he did.
Yeah.
If Jon
Well, Jon is much better than Robb.
That's false.
In every respect.
Yeah.
Jon wouldn't have killed Karstark.
Yes, he would have.
He would have kept him as a hostage.
No, he wouldn't have.
Right, because he killed Melisandre, right?
Well, he wasn't there. He didn't see it.
Oh, wait, Robb was in the room with Karstark when he killed the two boys?
the aftermath.
So the aftermath?
Stop talking bad about Robb. It's his last fucking season. Give him a break. We only have 3 more episodes of this king.
He's no king of mine.
Oh, Well, then after this, when he sends him to the dungeons, you have Edmure trying to talk him out of it. Kat and Talissa agree. They're saying keep him as a hostage.
Making a lot of good points.
Yeah.
We need their men. Keep him as a hostage. We'll bury the boys. We won't tell anybody. And Robb's like, okay. How about if we do none of that and I just kill him?
How are they gonna get justice if they can't serve justice their own? It makes perfect sense. Hypocritical is what it is. Have you ever known a leader to be hypocritical?
But justice is you can be a... That's a fair point, honestly. I didn't think of it like that.
Exactly.
You can serve justice when the war is over. That's the problem with the Starks, is they're always thinking in the moment. Yeah, you keep him as a hostage, and if you win the war, it's like, hey, Rickard, remember that thing you did? You're dead now. Sorry.
Well, that's less honorable as well.
It's not less honorable.
Yes, it is.
No, you keep somebody in prison until their death. That's what we do in good old America. He's on death row. He just didn't know it.
Surprise. Yeah, and Robb takes his head. Can we just talk about how badass he looks strutting in that rain? The emotion after he does it, he speaks to his character. It hurt him to do it. He wasn't happy about it. It hurt him.
He's clenching his fist.
Yeah, he's angry. He's like, oh man, why did he knows it's a difficult decision. But it only took him one stroke to take the head. Learn that, Theon. Take notes.
But the dialogue, too, where Karstark's talking about how the Starks and Karstarks, they're kin. Robb says, those words aren't going to help you now. He's like, I don't want help. I just hope that these words haunt you for the rest of your days, for the next couple of weeks.
I can picture them like in the Westeros Sea Afterlife. He's just sitting there with like his head in his hands. It's like, well, look who it is.
Look at it, the king of the north.
Come on, here. I'll introduce you to the guys. Oh, yeah. There's your dad.
There's your dad. And your grandpa. And your uncle. But his final words, too, Rickard Karstark, kill me and be cursed. You're no king of mine. Ooh.
It's a bar.
Such a great line.
Would you speak a final word?
Kill me and be cursed. You are no king of mine.
It's the first time we hear Arya's list in this season, I think, when she's inside the cave with Beric and Thoros of Myr. And this is a great scene, too, getting into the magic that Thoros is able to wield to bring Beric back to life. And they talk about all the times that Beric has died. It's incredible. He's been killed by the Cleglanes twice. He was killed by the Mountain the first time. He's been hung by the Lannisters for treason.
And stabbed in the eye.
Yeah, they shot an arrow in his eye. And he's been killed 6 times, and he keeps being brought back. And it's a really great scene between these 3 characters.
Yeah, it's very interesting, too, because before they're telling her how they're going to bring her back to Riverrun. And she's kind of like, oh, it's like I'm a hostage. It's like, you know.
Yeah, you're a hostage. We need the gold.
But it's interesting, too, like how he brings up how pieces get chipped away from you when you're brought back.
Something that we've seen with Jon.
It's mildly. I mean,
Yeah.
5 times is a lot more than once.
That is true. I mean, look at him. He's a completely different guy from season 1.
Lord Beric Dondarrion.
Five.
1. Maybe that's kind of how you can get past the whole recasting. I've been killed a bunch of times. That actor too, Richard Dormer, who plays Beric Dondarrion, he is an incredible actor. I wish this guy would get more work. I say that all the time with Game of Thrones. They have all these hidden gems. And the actor who plays Barristan Selmy later in the episode, why aren't these guys getting more work? The way that this guy delivers his lines and that powerful voice that he has. No, we're doing Thrones first.
Oh, I watched it so I can listen.
Don't.
I want to.
I don't want you.
Nah.
Just go on the couch.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be.
Yeah.
If you. I don't understand why these hidden gems within Game of Thrones don't get more roles, because this guy, the way that he delivers his lines, his commanding voice, he's an incredible actor, and he's just so great in this scene.
Oh yeah, even last episode, you're such a demanding screen presence where you didn't really know the character, but you're like, okay, this guy, when he said, "You'll be fighting me," you just knew like, oh, he can ball, man.
And you said it once before, too, that we're never going to see the Lord of Light descend from heaven and say, "I am the Lord of Light," and he's just all flaming, but you think that he's got to be real, or there's got to be something to it. Something that we'll never learn, but there's something there.
There is. I mean,
yeah.
We've seen it happen.
Because he's resurrecting people, and they have the scars on his body, but they're healed. So some of the, like the cells are healing themselves.
Yeah, Seven's a bunch of BS is what I'm seeing.
I'm all Lord of Light, man. I see that.
Lord of Light and the old gods.
The old gods, yeah.
They do some stinks.
Ice and fire.
Yeah. Ooh.
But a lot of people, they come back to this, and that's why all the theories about Jon coming back in the book and Jon coming back in the show as well. And Melisandre, I think it's next episode that she learns about Thoros' power. But Arya, can you bring back a man without a head? Just once?
They did it. It's one of those fucking whites that kills Jojen. Like the skeleton whites. It's like, hey.
Ned's head is hanging off his shoulder.
Children.
Hey, Arya, I'm back. Come give your daddy a big wet kiss.
Put him back. Kill him.
What
have we done?
Joffrey comes off with his head. The most disturbing scene, I think, maybe in Game of Thrones, is this scene between Stannis and Selyse Baratheon.
Selyse gives me the fucking creeps.
No, she was in season 2, right?
No.
Okay, I thought she was at the ceremony when they were burning all the...
I think they recast her, though.
Oh, they did recast her?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she gives me the creeps. How did Stannis get... Stannis' family? They suck.
He walks in and...
Everything about Stannis just... Oh.
He calls his wife my lady. My lady.
My lady, yeah.
It's like, what?
It's not even that they're creepy, too. It's just they're sad.
I mean,
it's
they're
just such
pretty
a sad
creepy
relationship.
with their fucking stillborns in a tube.
I thought... the first time I saw that, I was like, is this Alien? What are they doing? Are they cloning babies here? What is this, sci-fi? But I love how she's just down with the cause, too. It's like, I have to tell you something, Selyse. I slept... No, I know. I encouraged it. I told her to do it.
Yeah.
And she gave you a son. Well, not really, but...
I was a wife. I'm a cool wife.
The look on Stannis' face, his eyes, are so funny. It's the first time a man has ever been told, "Oh, it's fine that you're cheating." What?
Whoa.
It's like Joseph Smith. But he reveals to her that he's not there to see her. He's here to see one of the best characters in the show. One of the only characters with a truly pure heart, Shireen.
Yeah.
And that's great, too, that she's the best out of them, but she has to live with this scar. So even she's kind of cursed with the Stannis curse.
Yeah, like when everyone like dreams, like when you're little and you dream about being a princess, it's not the...
Yeah.
Shireen's got like this fucking dank corner room.
Yeah.
Like, by herself, she has to draw on the walls, plays on a wooden boat all day.
She's like Fiona in Shrek.
Yeah.
She's just locked away.
Selyse, and even when she says, "Oh, you're here for her," like Selyse is like, "Oh, why do you want to see Shireen?"
Yeah.
She's like the nicest person ever.
Yeah, I think she's ashamed of her, you know, the scar, the fact that she was never able to give Stannis a son.
Oh yeah, you judge a sweet, innocent little girl when you have dead babies in tubes. And you let your husband cheat on you for Red Witch.
She's very happy to see Stannis, and I wonder when was the last time that he visited her. But he tells her about the Battle of Blackwater and that he lost, and she also brings up Davos. She asks, is the Onion Knight, did he survive? Did he fight in the battle? And it's almost that Selyse was mad that Stannis wanted to see Shireen, and then Stannis gets mad that Shireen really wanted to see Davos.
Yeah. Parenting 101 there.
Davos, I mean, it's just a credit to him that he's developed this relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
She calls her her friend.
Yeah, it's a very touching moment, and especially later on when she visits him, it really sheds some light on that friendship.
Well, we'll go right to that scene when she does visit him. It is such a great scene, man, because it's just such a pure moment between these two characters.
It's two of the nicest characters that we've seen on the show.
And that she wants to teach him how to read, and he said, "No, we can't be doing this." She's like, "Oh, what are they going to do? Throw us in a cell?" She's sharp, man.
I know.
Kid's sharp.
And it's great, too, when she tells him about, like, Aegon to conquer, and it cuts right to Daenerys and her army. But since we skipped ahead, we need to go back to Brienne and Jaime.
Oh, man, yeah, we didn't plan that as well as they did.
No.
But I'll tell you what, that was a great fucking cut.
I know.
That's when I started chuckling to myself. I was like, you fucking bastards. You slick motherfucker.
Bastard.
But this arguably could be the best scene of Game of Thrones ever. And I feel like I say that a lot.
You do.
Yeah, but this might be. It's easily the best Jaime scene.
Oh yeah,
it's officially the face turn.
Well, it starts off like obviously the big when he tells her the story about the Mad King, but even before that, he makes a joke regarding Renly. She gets upset, and he apologizes right away and realizes his mistake. He's a changed man. He thinks about things differently, and it's just a testament to his character arc and his development throughout the series.
Yeah, and I'll be looking out too. I wonder if that's the last jab that he takes at her, the last unnecessary jab.
In the books, doesn't he get like a little chub?
He does when she stands up, right?
Yeah.
And I think on his face they kind of told him like, "You get a chub here,
Yeah.
so put on your chub face." Yeah, just when he enters the bathhouse and he just gets naked in front of Brienne, he gets in her tub. You can tell that he is kind of in a way trying to establish a relationship. But like you said, he goes, "Brienne, your job was to get me back to King's Landing in one piece. You're not doing such a great job. Can understand why Renly died with you protecting him, and that's what gets her so heated." But when he goes into the story of the Mad King, it's heartbreaking.
It is too. He's telling her all the details, and Brianna's just shook. She has that shocked look on her face the whole time. They keep cutting to her. When you get that insight, it really changes how, I guess not really the audience, but I guess the mystique of the Kingslayer, because the audience hasn't seen that moment take place, and they just know the negative connotation Kingslayer or Oathbreaker comes with, and you just think, oh, that's the type of person he is. But when you get that background, it really sheds a different light on the whole situation.
Yeah, and even going back to the scene in season 1 where Jaime and Ned are talking in the throne room, and it's kind of reminiscent of how Ned found Jaime after he killed the Mad King. And they go into that in the books as well, that Jaime was always looking for Ned Stark's respect. He didn't necessarily like him, but he did respect him because he had the reputation as an honorable man. And Brienne says, "Why didn't you tell Ned Stark the truth?" So he never would have believed me. He judged me as soon as he found me in the throne room.
That seems like a very Ned thing to do, too, as much as we love the character.
One of his faults.
Yeah. It's still one of my favorite. I think I said that in that first Ned and Jaime scene from season 1. That piece of fan art with Jaime sitting on the Iron Throne.
Yeah, and he's looking real cocky. He's kind of washing his sword. Even that feels like it's not how it was.
I know, but to Ned's credit, if you show the picture in the video, when you walk in and you see that smirk with the dripping sword, you're probably like, oh, guilty, too.
I say it all the time, and people are going to make fun of me, but the heart in conflict with itself. When you're being told you need to kill your own father by the king that you're sworn to protect, who's going to murder a bunch of innocent people, what are you supposed to do? And I think he made the right decision.
And it's the contrast to Sir Barristan, too, when we find out later when he's talking to Jorah about how he served terrible kings, too. And he kind of sat idly by and let Robert be a terrible king and Aerys to be a complete psychopath.
Also, Jaime, even in the book, he's younger in the book, but he's also just a kid. It's like 20 years old, the youngest member of the Kingsguard in history, and he's put in this impossible position. How many people did Jaime save? Millions. Save the entire city.
He says thousands.
Well, I'm trying to hype him up.
All right.
Billions.
And yeah, and how did it take long for Nikolai Coster-Waldau to get a Emmy nom?
I don't know. He's so good in this.
I thought he should have got it for this season.
And even when he faints in Brienne's, the Kingslayer, Jaime. My name's Jaime. But yeah, we talked about this transition to Daenerys with her new army. And this conversation between Barristan and Jorah, I love this. When old vets are reminiscing about the good old days and they're talking about when they had to squash the Greyjoy rebellion, when Thoros Emir ran across the bridge with his flaming sword. That Thoros.
I'm so glad they waited to have that conversation until the audience got to see Thoros, just to give us a little insight on him.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, right.
No, I'm joking, obviously. Yeah, it is great. He's talking about when Robert knighted him, and he's going to be the first person knighted by a king to piss his pants.
Jorah, yeah.
It's like Robert probably would have laughed.
Oh, he would have loved that. He would. Yeah, but that's great with them going back and forth.
Ian Barristan calls Robert a great man, great warrior, and a terrible king.
Yeah, I like that, too, that he did refer to him as a great man. And even though he said that if he was there when Tywin Lannister laid down the Targaryen children in front of Robert, and Robert smiled, Barristan always used to say, if I was there for that, there would have been nothing to keep me from Robert and killing him.
Yeah, it makes him no different
but
than
Robert
Jaime.
was a good man.
Well, kind of different because he hasn't really served him yet, but
Yeah,
along the same lines.
Yeah.
Stresses his desire to serve a great leader. Like I said before, you had Robert, a terrible king, Aerys, a complete maniac, and he's like, oh,
That's what he says.
and Jorah's
Do you
like,
believe in her?
do you believe in her? And Jorah's like, well, I'm thinking he's just looking at her as like, in his head is like, I love her so much.
I love her. I love you so much.
I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you.
But this is a great scene, too, man, when she brings together all of the officers of the Unsullied Army and she tells them to pick out their leader. And they all kind of separate, and then it's Grey Worm, one of the best characters in the show, his introduction. And he takes off his helmet. And she tells them, listen, you guys can pick any name that you want, because all of their names are Grey Worm, Black Rat, Piece of Shit, Dog Turd. All these names are supposed to represent what they are.
They didn't really get too creative there. He had piece of shit, then dog turd. It's like there's so many other insults
It's
to
just
go with.
yeah, it's just going to be all different types of variations of poop,
That's just what I heard. That's the guy to the right. It's poop.
feces.
Yeah, but he wants to keep his name because that's the name he had when he was saved by Daenerys.
Yeah, that explanation
He puts it a little more eloquently than I do, but
bit more poetic.
Yeah, but you guys get the gist.
And Daenerys, the look on Daenerys' face, it almost looks like she wants to start crying. And it's a great relationship. I mean, he's very loyal, Grey Worm, great fighter. And yeah, I just love this character, his first scene.
We go back to Jorah and Barristan, and he's like, all right, we were talking shop, talking about the past. He's like, hey, by any chance, run a small council or anything like that?
King Robert really wanted her dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Did you know about any of this? Like any of the notes going around?
He keeps side-eyeing her. But it's interesting that they did that in the show, because he knows right away in the book when Barristan comes over to join with Daenerys, because he was on the small council.
Yeah, I think that was a smart choice by the showrunners in the beginning, knowing they had to eventually reintroduce Sir Barristan, and how were they going to do it when we already see his face? So I guess it was a conscious decision to not have him in the small council meetings in season 1.
Yeah, they do kind of gloss over a lot of what Barristan does in the third book when he does meet with Daenerys. They make it a little bit less complex, because even Jorah says, our cause, you've only been with us for a couple of days.
Although they might have been able to keep it too, because Barristan...
No, they definitely could have.
He still knows, but he takes a while to just...
come out and say it.
Yeah, because he wants to learn more about Daenerys and her situation. So they could have played with that, but...
And also kind of doesn't really make sense that Robert would keep him off the small council for so long. But I think it became more of, he wasn't on the small council at first, but then that's just kind of how things were, because Barristan says, I hate politics. I never had any interest in it, so good thing for Jorah, because the way that he's side-eyeing him through the whole conversation, it's like, yes, he doesn't know. And this next scene, we have Robb overlooking the map of Westeros, and he's trying to plan his attack, but he realizes that without the Karstark men, their cause might be lost. And Talisa comes in and joins him, and she's kind of giving him advice and asking him what can he do to make this war winnable again. She's like, you know what? I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't even know where Winterfell is. I think that's so funny.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, there's a lot of different things going around in Westeros. It's a big place, especially in the north. It's half the size of the realm. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, well, now you know. Well, then Robb gets the absolutely genius idea. It's like, oh, we don't have the Karstarks? Brain blast. I'm going to go get the phrase, and we're going to take Castle Rock.
And I hate this, that he's like, this is where Winterfell is. This is King's Landing. Wait a second. Eureka! He kisses her on the forehead. You're a genius. What did I do? I hate this.
Add that to the whiteboard of action movie or just film in general cliches.
Things that you can't do. But it's a clever plan by Robb because, well, it's an ambitious.
Sure about that?
It's an ambitious plan by Robb. It's not very clever. I mean, I guess it's funny that Walder Frey, even after giving them the bridge, you would think that he would at least pledge his men to the Stark cause, but just stayed neutral.
I think in the books he does have his men too.
Yeah, I thought so too. We're gonna go get the men of the man whose daughter I was supposed to marry. Delicia's like, that sounds like a great idea, honey. You're doing so well.
Don't you want to teach little Ned Stark?
Don't you want to teach little Ned Stark how to make war plans? And
I'm not ready.
And you talked about how in the last episode it was great when you get that big action scene, and this episode was about just the players playing their game. And this scene, this whole sequence.
All right, it's like Sansa and Marjorie watching Loras train. First look at Oliver. Well, that escalated quickly. Surprise, surprise, he's working for Littlefinger. Tells Littlefinger about Sansa and Loras. Oh, surprise, surprise. Who does Littlefinger go to see? Sansa. That quickly. Just how things spread, and Littlefinger just has his fucking hands in everything, working everything. And
it's so funny. The first time I watched this, I was like, oh, Oliver, how did he know? I was like, Loras, that Loras was interested in this. Oh, he's working for Littlefinger.
Yeah.
That's how he knows. And it's just a brilliant move by Littlefinger. And it makes sense why Littlefinger would tell this information to Cersei.
Keeps Littlefinger in good graces, but it also allows him to play his own game.
And that scene between Sansa and Littlefinger where he's talking about the ship and how if you get one ship, you just want 12 more. Littlefinger tells her that the offer is still on the table, that she can leave with Littlefinger. And Sansa's saying, oh, I don't want to put you in danger. We should wait. I'm going to marry Loras.
She's still stuck where she has the chance to go home.
I know.
Nothing good has happened to you in such a long time, and you're still stuck on this fantasy. Well, it's actually, knowing Littlefinger, it's probably not the best idea to go with him anyway. But in her mind, and like her situation where she kind of trusts Littlefinger, and he's giving this opportunity for her to go home, even though knowing Littlefinger, we know this is not going to be the case. So it's kind of like the smart move is kind of to wait and try to marry Loras.
I wonder what Littlefinger would have done if Robb survived. That would have been interesting to see. Maybe he just does give her back to the Starks.
I don't think he would tell her. It's like, oh, it's not safe for you. It's not safe for you
Oh,
in
you're
the
right.
war. I'll take you to the Vale that's impregnable, and we'll kill my wife. And then, why does he sound like
Why
Sean
do you-
Harris
yeah, I was
in
gonna say,
Mission
what do you do?
Impossible?
This will be the fallout of all your good intentions, Sansa.
Yeah, either way, she's screwed. She's screwed. That's Game of Thrones to a T again.
And then it leads up into this scene with Tywin, Tyrion, and Cersei. I love how Tyrion is thinking about Sansa in this scene. He's not really thinking about himself, because you would think, hey, you're a Lannister, you get the chance to marry a Stark, your son is going to be the heir to Winterfell.
I mean,
That's a good
Tywin,
move.
he's like mapping it up.
Oh, yeah. It's
Cersei to the south. We have the Crown Lands. You go to the north.
we got the whole damn Monopoly board at this point, son.
I know.
Tyrion saying, Sansa's been tortured by Joffrey over these last couple of years, and then you're going to give her to me? That's just cruel. Even Tyrion knows. He's just thinking from an objective standpoint.
Yeah.
And Tywin's saying, listen, I don't care if Sansa is happy or sad or mad. You take her, you bet her, you put a child in her. That's it.
As much as I love Cersei, when he's telling her about the plans to marry to Sansa, and she has that like smug
Oh.
look on her face, and then he drops the Dolores bomb on her,
It's so satisfying.
and they're both just sitting there in shambles as he walks away. Like, oh, that dad of ours.
But Cersei becomes a little girl again, because she says, please, Dad, not again. She's talking about when she was shipped off to marry Robert Baratheon. And I kind of feel bad for Cersei and Tyrion in this scene, but yeah, what Tywin says goes. And even in the last scene where Cersei mentions to Tywin, you loved your legacy so much more than you ever loved us. If Tywin did show love to his children, these plans, these schemes would go over much better.
Yeah, but I don't think you make schemes like this. I don't think you make schemes like that unless you kind of are indifferent on your children and you're just worried about your family legacy. He's willing to do what's needed to be done and doesn't let affection for his children get in the way.
That's a good point. Tywin is the Machiavellian prince. I think you could make the case this episode was better than last week's, and I would give it a 10 out of 10.
It's just so great how in last week we had these big epic moments, these betrayals, these action sequences, these big things happening. And you have Daenerys getting her army, the Night's Watch getting overthrown, and this week it's just all the politics playing out. It's the game being played. It's back to the political maneuvering that is Game of Thrones, and which makes just scenes of talking and just dialogue so great and holds so much weight. It doesn't always have to be the big moment, and it can be a bunch of subtle moments stretched out throughout the hour-long episode, and it becomes almost a masterpiece of television.
I concur.
We agree a lot more now. I don't like it. We need some more conflict in here. Teddy?
Hey guys, thank you for watching this video, and before we go, I want to quickly thank our Patreon supporters. Without your support, we wouldn't be able to grow and evolve as a channel, so thank you for your generous pledges. If you are interested in supporting our channel through Patreon, visit www.patreon.com/nerdsoup, and you can see the different rewards we offer to our Patreon supporters. T-shirts, mugs, stickers, access to our behind-the-scenes video, and more. Thanks again for watching this video, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Or dislike, don't share, and unsubscribe. It's a binary world, folks.